I first really became aware of the persecution of the Christians in the Middle East in about 2007, when I was president of the International Association of Genocide Scholars. And I was asked to go into Iraq. I was invited to come to Kurdistan and to meet a number of the people who were already in refugee camps, Christians who had fled from persecution in various places. And of course, all of this was even before ISIS. So I met a lot of people. I went and, for instance, also met with people who weren't Christians but were also being persecuted, like the Yazidis. In 2007, I remember going up to the holy city of the Yazidis for a big conference that was held there. It was striking to me immediately that the Christians were already under severe persecution. Where there had been 1.5 million Christians in Iraq in 2003, they were leaving Iraq because, it wasn't just that the war was on in Iraq. It was also they were literally being persecuted by Islamists who wanted to destroy them. And that's why they were leaving their towns and going to places like Ankawa, for instance, in Erbil, a place where Christians felt safe. And I met a lot of the leaders of the Christian church there, the Archbishop there, the Chaldean church in Erbil, for instance, and a number of other of the leaders in the Christian church. It became very clear to me this was a serious problem that was going to get worse and worse. And so we actually predicted that there would be a much worse genocide in Iraq against Christians and against Yazidis. And this was before ISIS was even in existence. We could see it, you could see the handwriting on the wall. I already mentioned that there were 1.5 million Christians in Iraq in 2003. Today, there are less than 250,000. That shows how urgent this situation is. Not only did ISIS, of course, make it worse and target Christians and Yazidis and Shia Muslims and all kinds of other people that they just disagreed with, but Christians were also already being persecuted, and so this was just an additional kind of persecution. So it was natural that Christians would leave. Fortunately, at that time, the United States was open to having Christians come here from Iraq and from Syria as well. I think one of the great tragedies of our current immigration policy in the United States is that it's gotten very difficult now for Christians to come here. And I think it's a big mistake. I think we need to recognize who it is who's being persecuted and really apply the international law concerning refugees, which says that a refugee is one who has a well-founded fear of persecution on the basis of religion and politics and nationality and so forth. Well, Christians clearly are the ones who are being persecuted, among others, of course. I mean, I think that Yazidis also are. And for that matter, it's not just, as I say, it's not just in Iraq. In Syria also, huge numbers of Christians have left because of the persecution. Yeah, well, the Christian community in Iraq and in Syria has always been a vibrant part of the national identity of those countries. There were lots of Christians in universities and in the schooling system and so forth. In fact, Christians were an elite in both countries. I mean, the foreign minister of Iraq was a Christian, for instance, even under Saddam Hussein. But it just was a situation where if you lose your population, you cannot maintain that kind of influence in the country, and you can't maintain your educational institutions and your system of, your culture, the civilization that you've developed. And I think something that a lot of Americans are completely unaware of is that this is the birthplace of Christianity. I mean, these Christians, I remember going to an Easter service in Erbil, celebrated by Archbishop Warda there in the Chaldean Church in the middle of and listening to the Mass being sung in Aramaic. I can tell you, it just sent chills up and down me to think this is the language that our Lord Jesus Christ spoke himself. It had a profound effect on me to realize here we have Christians who are being among the earliest Christians, being driven out of their own homeland. And we just can't permit this. We've got to stop it.